How do you take a soil sample? Well, there's all sorts of tools you can use to do that. Typically, I use a soil probe. I always recommend this if you're going to pull many samples over a period of time. Another tool you can use is a trowel. You can always use a shovel. A shovel is not near as much fun. It's a little bit more work. And sometimes if you have a compacted area like your lawn, it could be a lot of work. But it will work, and I'm going to show you what you need to do, especially if you're going to use a shovel. You need a bucket. And the reason you need a bucket is you're going to take more than one sample. Then you also need to go on ahead and have your soil boxes or bags or whatever it is you're going to use. You need to have those already identified. And the reason I say that is because that way you've got that part and you won't forget where you pulled the samples from. You want to be able to pull the sample from the top through the 6-inch depth. That's very important because with that area, that's where most of the plant nutrients are concentrated. If you go shallower, most likely you're going to underestimate the amount of nutrients that plant needs. If you go deeper, you may overestimate and get into the less fertile soils that are deeper. So 1 through the 6-inch depth is really important. There's a sample. Now we went a little deeper than I intended, but about this deep right here is what you want. That's about 6 inches. And so I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to get my bucket, and I'm going to drop that in my bucket. And you see the core. That's called a core. And that's a good concept because basically what you're looking at when you pull a soil sample, you're looking at a core. So if you use a trowel, if you use this trowel, that would essentially represent a core too. If we use a shovel, that's not necessarily a core. You know, we're going to have to do some work on that sample, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But that's how you pull a 6-inch sample using a probe. You want to take enough samples that represent the area that you're interested in. So if it's your lawn, you want to go at least 5 or 6 different places and zigzag throughout your lawn. Take those samples and you mix those in a bucket. We have our lawn sample, and we're going to bust up all these clods. So we can mix them up. So if you pull samples and they're too wet to do this, just put the cores out on a paper plate overnight, and then the next day they'll be dry enough to pulverize like this. But you want to do this to the core so you can thoroughly mix the sample. We're going to mix the sample again when it comes to the lab. But you can see there now, it's good and mixed. I have already identified with my name and address, and this is my front lawn. And I'm going to put the soil in here. We'll fill up this box. And like I explained earlier, pulling a sample with a shovel is a little bit more work, but it can be done. The key is 6 inches deep. It's very critical. And I'm going to estimate here that 6 inches is about right here, about to that blue spot. And that's how deep we're going to go. So this spot is tilled a little bit, so it may make our job a little easier. So we're gone about 6 inches. And this is my sample. And so basically what we're going to do is we don't want to get more of the soil from the edge than we do in the middle. So basically we're going to score this mound kind of right in the middle and pitch out these sides like so. So that essentially we've got a core. So I'm going to lift, and this is from the top through the 6-inch depth. It kind of fell down right there, but we're just going to take this middle part here and make that our sample. Now, when you're sampling with the shovel, you'll end up with more soil. And it's a little bit more work, but it can be done. Typically, if I don't have a probe, I tend to prefer a trowel just because it's not as big as a shovel. But the same difference, you take a lot of samples, you mix those together, and then crumble up those clods. They're not going to be in the cores like a core sampler. And put those in your box that I've already identified as garden, and then send it to the lab. And that's how you take a soil sample.